two cases that really got us. First of all, there was a false flag attack in London in 1994, where a car bomb exploded outside the Israeli embassy in the centre of London.
Now, I remember this vaguely. This is, we're talking 14 years ago.
It's a long time
but
ago.
But it was huge at the time. I mean, it was a huge worldwide story.
Yeah. In fact, there'd been an earlier attack against some Jewish interest section in Buenos Aires earlier that year as well. Similar sort of MO, modus operandi, with a car bomb driven and parked outside that exploded.
So in 1994, a car bomb explodes outside the Israeli embassy in London.
In London, yeah.
Anyone hurt or killed? I don't remember.
Very minor injuries, that was all. Okay. Nobody was killed. And it was a very sophisticated device. It appeared to eat itself, eat all the forensics. Now, this is very, very rare. Even the IRA, which is a very sophisticated terrorist organisation, could not make bombs that effective. So it looked like it, sort of fairly technical person had put that together. But what emerged from that, the senior MI5 officer who was in charge of the investigation into it and had seen all the evidence but also all the intelligence, which isn't necessarily admissible in court, wrote his formal assessment at the end of the case, and he said he reckoned that Mossad, the Israeli external intelligence agency, had bombed their own embassy. A sort of controlled explosion outside the embassy. And as I said, that was a senior MI5 officer. That was his formal verdict. If you read that on the internet now, you would say that sounds like some mad conspiracy theory. But it wasn't. This was the official position of MI5. And he said that they did it for two reasons. One, they were always hassling MI5 for increased security around their embassy and other interests in London. Because, of course, London had a reputation of giving safe haven to Arab dissidents from around the world at that point. And MI5 kept saying, well, there's no reason to increase the threat assessment. You don't need extra protection. So letting off a controlled explosion outside, of course, they immediately got what they wanted there. But crucially, two innocent Palestinians were arrested, charged and convicted of conspiracy to cause that attack. And they were very active in a Palestinian support network in London, political campaigning for the people on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. And they were gaining some traction in the media. They were getting quite a lot of support. So by arresting these people and framing them for an attack and sticking them in prison, the whole network just shattered and hasn't got back on its feet to this day. So that would be a clear political advantage for Mossad to have achieved in London by framing these innocent people for an attack which was carried out by Mossad.
Where are these two people now?
They're still rotting in prison.
So they've been in prison for 14 years.
Yeah, and they both got 20-year sentences. They both proclaim their innocence. They will serve the whole sentence. And it was a young woman called Samar Alami who's had a breakdown since this case, for obvious reasons, and a young man called Jawed Botme. And
they were found guilty of
conspiring to cause the attack. Not actually doing it. They had cast-iron alibis. But the linkage was a mysterious figure who was known as Raider Maghrabi. And he was a man, apparently Middle Eastern, who befriended many people within this Palestinian support network. And Jawed Botme knew a little bit about second-hand cars. So Raider Maghrabi asked him to go along to an auction and help him buy a second-hand car. So Jawed did. This was the car that was used in the explosion. This was the linkage that pulled these Palestinians into the case. And of course, during the investigation, Raider Maghrabi just disappeared. So the speculation would be that actually this guy was a Mossad person.